Good morning, and welcome to the Sacramento Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Ruth Hall, President of the Board of Trustees, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we welcome you to our Sacred Sunday Mother's Day service. Please remember that we are recording this service and it will be posted on social media. And you can find it not only on YouTube, but on our wonderful website at saccsl.org. This is the place you can find our recordings from Sunday, as well as all of our events that are upcoming. Which reminds me, just an FYI for those of you who are in the Busy Hands, Warm Hearts meeting that happens normally on the second and fourth Mondays, this coming Monday, tomorrow, is being canceled because Reverend Patricia is on vacation this week. So just stay tuned for the next meeting that will be on the fourth Monday. Also, for those of you who watch us on YouTube, first of all, thank you so much for your donations and for supporting our YouTube presence. Remember to subscribe because that really helps us with our YouTube channel. If we get enough subscribers, we'll be able to go live on YouTube without a lot of hassle. And so that's a really important thing that helps us out. So thank you again for those of you who visit us on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And now I'd like to welcome our senior minister, Reverend Sharon Dunn.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day. Oh, Diane, you look amazing. I'm so glad to see you up and going. And I want to ask a question. Celebrating mothers, right? There's so many ways to be a mother and so many ways to, even as a man, dip into your feminine, your divine feminine self. But right now, I want to talk about the thing that we all have in common. And that is that we all had or have a mother. And what I want to know is stay muted, but raise your hand when you have an answer. And the question I'm asking, and then again, stay muted until I call on you. Would you be willing to share a fond memory about your mother? When you have that in mind, raise your hand. Diane, you go first.
When my mother was confined to the bed a lot because of her broken back and staying at my sister Kathy's, I went down and I read her the Ya Sisterhood book. And it was wonderful because she's Southern and we share a lot of Southern sort of expressions and things. And there's a lot about the South in the Ya Sisterhood. And we laughed together in all the right places, and she loved it. And we just spent hours I got to visit her during the summer because she stayed with my sister Kathy in Manhattan, and I'd go down there every other weekend, spend the whole weekend with her. And we read that whole book, and I think one weekend. So it's a wonderful memory.
Thank you so much. That made me tear up. I am so appreciative that you were willing to share that. And now mute, when you're finished sharing, go ahead and mute yourself. And for those who are just coming in, the question is, do you have a fond memory of your mother, and are you willing to share? And if so, raise your hand. And then when I call on you, you would unmute and speak. A fond memory of your mother. Anyone? Carol, you go next.
So when I was young, we lived in a small town, Jamestown, North Dakota. And I remember my mom and I every Saturday morning for many, many years, we would have the wonderful experience of going to the White Drug Cafe on the corner of, I forget the street, but we would go and have really delicious cinnamon rolls like every Saturday morning. That was just the treat for Mom and I. So it's a very fond memory, and it was for many years. So it was like our sacred time.
Oh, thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you. Debbie, Reverend Debbie.
Finding that magic unmute button. So I was really close to my mom. And I almost feel like I was closer to her in adulthood. We were just such good friends. And I know some of you, Reverend Sharon, experience that kind of relationship with your daughter. And so I'd be at work and I feel like we called each other and talked on the phone 2 or 3 times a day. Now, I really was working and doing a good job, but somehow we hung out, just talked and just hung out. And, she's the person I moved back in with after a bad breakup. And I love my mom. Reverend Sharon, you're muted.
Who is willing to share a fond memory of their mother? Raise your hand and I will pick you and you can unmute. Jim?
Okay. So I have a fond memory of my mother as well. I'm one of 5 children, and we had endless campouts, and my mom was the driver of these campouts, and it really kept our family together. She always had breakfast, she always had dinners, she always had it planned, and she always had the perfect campsite for us to be a family. And just have incredible memories of my mom planning those campouts, taking us, and it'd be Sunday night when she'd have to go to work the next day, but she wanted to leave those campgrounds the last person, and because she wanted us to experience as much possible out of the weekends. And it was incredible. We'd get home late and she'd go to work the next day, and just all the sacrifices she made for our family. Incredible. Love my mom.
Thank you so much, Jim. That's beautiful. I'm really touched. So what we're asking is if you would be willing to share a fond memory of your mother. And if so, raise your hand and we'll have you unmute. Cookie.
My mom was an excellent cook and taught me how to cook, but she had a family recipe that was a coffee cake that was made, and the smell of this coffee cake is absolutely delightful. And it was always very special when she made it. And of course, I've carried it on into my family, and that they want, and we always then will talk, this is grandma's coffee cake. So yeah, it just is just a fond food memory.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. A fond memory of your mother, anyone? Corey.
Hello. I got a lot of memories of my mom. She was 20 years older. She was 20 years when she had me. Then I had my sister, so it was us 3 girls a lot. But, baking, she was always busy, sewing, something, camping. But one of the memories I had, we grew up out on the River Road in Sacramento, on West Sacramento, and we didn't have an air conditioner, and it would get like 106. And it was so hard to sleep at night. So my mom would get me and my sister, we had a doughboy pool out in the back, and it was dark out there, and she would have a skinny dip with her. And we just thought, that's the most magical, awesome thing. 1, we were naked, and 2, it was at nighttime and we were in the pool. But boy, it really cooled us off. We'd swim around for about 10, 15 minutes, then she'd get us out and we'd go back to bed, and we were cooled off enough to get to sleep. So yeah, my mom, she was pretty cool.
Oh my goodness, that's a wonderful story. Oh my goodness. Who would like to go? A fond memory of your mother. Anyone? Ruth?
So this is an interesting story. I have fond memories of my mother, but not very many because she died when I was 8. But I just want to say this part because my dad became my mom and my dad,
Mm.
and he was wonderful at that. And one of the memories I can share is that, well, my dad was an opera singer in his early life. And so one of the things that he would do when we went out to restaurants is start singing opera in the middle of the restaurant. Not quiet either. He was very loud. And so I would kick him under the table and stop that. But as it turns out, when I got older, I had to pass that tradition on to my daughter. And so I would sing in the restaurants too to embarrass my daughter as well. So he was a lot of fun and sometimes embarrassing, but he was a really, really great parent in that he really did hold both roles.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's so wonderful, Ruth. I just love that. Has anyone a fond memory of your mother today on Mother's Day? Raise your hand if you have one. While you're thinking, I will go ahead and share my fond memory of my mother. And interesting, my mother had Huntington's disease, which is a hereditary disease that a lot of my family members have. So her later years were plagued with Huntington's disease, but her early years were she was eccentric, but she was fantastic. And my mother was born and raised in the Hawaiian Islands, in Pearl Harbor, actually, and she was Hawaiian. And she was the most beautiful hula dancer that ever was to behold. And my father was he worked for Matson Shipping. He ended up being the vice president. But on one of their trips over to the Hawaiian Islands on the Matson ship, my mother was asked to dance in her hulaku. They sat at the captain's table and she got up and she danced in her hulaku to many admirers. And I have professional photographs of my mother in her hulaku dancing the hula. And I remember her dancing for us. And I wanted to be her. She was so beautiful, and she would put on a dress and twirl, and she had the most beautiful singing voice, and she was a poet. And so I wanted to be like my mother. I'm a poet, I'm a singer, and I loved my mother. I love to honor her today because when you have a mother with Huntington's disease, sometimes you lose the fond memories and you only sometimes remember the things that are not fond. And it's hard sometimes to let those things go and go back to something that you can honor and love about your mother. So thank you for letting me share her. Zali Pi'ikea was her name. Beautiful. Anyone else? A fond memory of your mother? Don't be shy. Margie.
Well, I too lost my mother when I was young. I was 12. And I have wonderful memories of her kindness and her love. And my favorite time with her was alone and at the Jersey Shore. And it was my first time seeing the ocean. And it was like seeing God, it was great. So she let me go in the water. And I'm playing Esther Wans and I'm doing my thing and having fun. I felt so free. And then something grabbed me, and it was the lifeguard. And he says, "What are you doing out here so far?" He goes, "I don't even come out here this far. Look at your mother." And she must have been this big. And I thought, and I couldn't really see her, but the vibration around her was fear. And I knew then I could never, I had to pay attention where I was going. But luckily I was safe, and I knew my mother, I didn't want to scare her like that ever again, you know, but it was my favorite time, especially being with her at the ocean, you know.
Oh, that's wonderful, Margie. Thank you. Anyone else? A fond Anne. Good morning.
Good morning. I had to figure out how to unmute on my phone. We lived on a farm and had a farm table that would feed the whole family of whatever we were, 12, 13, 14. But my mother would always stand at the doorway in order to be able to serve us, to make sure that no dish was empty. But what I remember most is her making strudel from Austria, her Austrian recipe. And the whole table would be spotlessly clean. She would roll out the dough till it was paper thin, fill it with homegrown apples and cinnamon and butter, and roll it up. And it was the best treat ever. The only person who ever learned it was a daughter-in-law. None of the children ever learned that recipe, and I'm so sad. But yes, that's a fond memory.
Oh, that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I wonder if you were in the mall and you go by Cinnabon, does it ever remind you of it? Nope, it was special. Kathy, I don't know if you're there, if you want to share a fond memory of your mother, or whether you are, I just want to make sure you have an opportunity if you're there.
I'm here. Do you hear me?
We hear
I'm
you.
here?
We do hear you.
Okay, everything's so unstable, but my mom kept me alive when I was so sick. She was my best friend later in life. I don't have enough words for my mom and what she gave me, and she could cook, she could sew, she played duplicate bridge for fun. There wasn't much that she couldn't do. And yesterday was Derby Day, Kentucky Derby Day, and Daddy and she always had these huge parties. And Patricia and I worked the parties. So Mom is always with every night. So yeah.
Thank you.
Pretty terrific.
Thank you. I'm so glad. That was very heartfelt. Thank you so much, Kathy. And Sue.
Oh, I did it. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
My mom, when I was young, I was very, very shy, and I didn't have friends. And I used to, when I would talk to her about it, she would always go on about how she was the same way. She didn't have friends when she was young, and she was, the odd man out, and she, all that through high school and whatever. And later I found out that she was the school secretary. She was the lead in the play, one of the most popular people in her school, but she didn't share that with me because she wanted me to feel good. And I thought that's sweet.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I feel very touched. And I was just inspired, and I just loved hearing from each of you, because it just, like yesterday when several of us went wine tasting as we won the auction, the silent auction from our fundraiser, and learning different things about each other. We go to spiritual community together, and yet it's times like this, like today, that we learn something more about each other that connects us. And this is why we're here, why we come on Sunday, is for that sense of belonging, for that sense of connection, and being with people who support us in our spiritual journey. So I thank you from the depths of my heart for all of you willing to share a story about your mother. And we're going to now hear from one of the most amazing mothers. And Reverend Debbie was actually our board president when I first arrived in Sacramento. She's been my support for a very long time. She has a beautiful family with lovely, lovely daughters. And she is the archetype of the mother, not only for her family, but for this community. So Reverend Debbie Putnam, take us in.
Oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be able to speak after that introduction and after all of your touching stories. My goodness. And today I'm going to do our invocation, and I also want to include our beloved pets, because as some of you know, our dog made her transition yesterday evening. And so in addition to our children and our mothers and our parents and everyone we know who's a mother, our pets. So everybody text me a picture of your pet. But anyway, our pets are in my mind very much. And so we go right now into the silence and the open stillness that is always here, always present, that is the very energy and resonance of being. There is one infinite power, one infinite grace, one infinite life, one divine presence that moves upon the waters of itself and creates all things. And I am one with this, created of this. It is all that I am. It is all that each and every one of us is, and each and every person watching, and all of our loved ones, our mothers, our children, our pets, and each other. That there is this full presence of motherhood, whether we are male or female, whether we have had children or not, this spirit of motherhood, this thing that is caretaking for the planet, caretaking for each other, caretaking for all that come into our sphere in little ways and big ways. This beauty of presence, this beauty of love, this essence of love is all that we are. And there's never anything that can dim that. There's no lack. There's nothing out of order, but simply this growing presence of love in every interaction, in all that we are, as we live fully into the truth of our being. And that is true this morning, as we live fully into the truth of our being through Reverend Sharon's talk, and through all of our sharing, and through the beautiful production that's happening behind the scenes, the board, everyone, all of our practitioners and ministers, that there's this pure presence and movement of being that is happening right here and right now. And we now claim it. I am love. You are love. We are love. We are motherhood. It is happening now. I give thanks and release this to law. And so it is.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And now for our readings. The only way to ease our fear and be truly happy is to acknowledge our fear and looked deeply at its source. Instead of trying to escape from our fear, we can invite it up to our awareness and look at it clearly and deeply. Thich Nhat Hanh. When I care to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. The Way of Gratitude. From time immemorial, it has been almost instinctive for people, when confronted with fear, to turn to what we have considered a power greater than ourselves. Ernest Holmes, Living Without Fear. And now for our music.
Go.
Listen, 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 listen. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. So listen, 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 listen. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. So the earth will be healed by the women of the world. The earth will be healed by the women of the world. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. So listen, other healers. Listen, wise. Listen, other healers. Listen, a woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. So the earth will be healed by the listen of the world. The earth will be healed by the listen of the world. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. So the earth will be healed by the listen of the world. The earth will be healed by the listen of the world. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. So the earth will be healed by the listen of the world. The earth will be healed by the listen of the world. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. So the earth will be healed by the women of the world. The earth will be healed by the women of the world. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. A woman feels her power when her voice is being heard. So listen, 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 listen.
I like that. That is great. Thank you so much, Carol. We do want to thank you, dear, for being so amazing today as Ruth is planning, Ruth and Cookie are planning their holiday, and you are being trained, or we are being trained. You are doing an incredible job, and we love you for your willingness to get in there and support us the way you're doing. So thank you. So I'm going to talk today about a couple of things. We have already had the best sermon ever with the sharing of our mothers. And since this is Mother's Day, I would just as soon say goodbye and enjoy and have a great Mother's Day. But before I do that, I want to do a quick review and talk about this month. Our theme is emotions. So we have an annual theme of living everyday wonder. And then each month we're taking an aspect of living everyday wonder. And this particular month, we're talking about emotions. And today's topic is about fear. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do a little review, and I'm going to leave you with this slide so that should you want to get back to it and see this again, you can always revisit this talk and fast forward in order to see this slide. So Carol, if you would put that slide, the anatomy of belief up for me, so that we can review that the ideas that we shared last week and the ideas that we are going to continue to share this month. And so I made this slide because why do we talk about emotions? We talk about emotions as students of science of mind or as religious scientists. We talk about emotions because emotions have something to do with our belief system. And what we are about in the science of mind, other than living the principles of spirit, which is love and power and presence and all of those wonderful principles that are true for all, wisdom and abundance and freedom, and those principles, we learn to live those principles in our community. We also really concentrate on having the life we want. And how we do that is to have the beliefs that support the life that we want. Is that right? So I made this slide because the anatomy of a belief has everything to do with being able to change our thinking, change our mind, change our life. And we start up on the top where it says encounter. And this idea is that we encounter an object or a situation, and then right here next to that, we have a reaction or an emotion. A reaction or an emotion, this is where it begins. And when we have a reaction or an emotion, we tend to look at that reaction and emotion and name it. We name it, which takes thought. So a lot of times we say everything begins with a thought. Scripture says, and first there was the word, but really before the word and before the thought was the encounter itself, or the object or the situation. So we're seeing or feeling or experiencing something brand new. And then the next thing we do is we have a reaction and emotion, and then we have a thought. And from that thought, we can name what just happened. And that, folks, is a feeling. And the feeling is named. And when it happens again, when this encounter might repeat itself, we go through this process again. We recall that it does have a name. And when it happens like that, we can establish a belief. This is the anatomy of a belief in a nutshell. And it's so wonderful because when we have a belief, oftentimes we never think about it. We have an automatic system that has a descriptive. We have an automatic system. So we walk through life never rethinking what we have decided is a belief. Are y'all with me? So we have these belief systems, and now we can actually see the outpicturing of these belief systems in our lives. And there may be areas of our lives that maybe aren't working like we'd like them to. And we can actually trace back to where that encounter was and that reaction, that emotion, and we can rename it. We can rename the experience we'd like to have because our beliefs create our reality. So our beliefs creating our reality means that we can actually change our belief. Okay, we cannot change the encounter. We cannot change the emotion. We, however, can go back to the feeling that we named and rename it and create a new belief. So let's think of it this way. Thought wrapped in feeling equals belief. And behind every feeling is an emotion, and behind every belief is a feeling rooted in the mind of the individual. So we have an opportunity to look at the anatomy of our emotions, feelings, and beliefs. And what I have found in this last week in doing my research and listening to my favorite guru is Brene Brown, and she has a new series called The Atlas of the Heart on HBO Max. It would be worth it just to get that as a new subscriber for a week free and then cancel it just to hear the series from Brene Brown, because it's pretty fantastic and she talks about this very subject. Now, I had these ideas before her, so don't think for one moment that she was teaching me, because I really had these first. I just am telling you that she has a series that helps support it. But she is a renowned author, scientist. She's a researcher of shame and vulnerability, and she's just amazing. But what I found out and what I'm understanding is that we're interchanging words for fear. Fear is an emotion. It is a reaction to a situation, circumstance, or condition that is not safe. We, however, as a culture, are using words interchangeably, which causes confusion when we are trying to trace back a belief. If we are trying to trace back a belief in order to change our experience, and we think for a moment that we can change an emotion, we're going to be confused and frustrated. So here are some words that are used interchangeably with the word fear: worry, anxiety, phobia, depression. And I'm sure you can think of several words that you are or you have heard used interchangeably with the word fear. And what happens with that is when we cannot go back and change an emotion, we may experience shame because we fail to be able to change our initial reaction. Now, remember this: emotions are temporary, feelings are lasting. We talked about this last week, that feelings like love can be built upon each other. They can last a lifetime. And beliefs are a result of our feelings. So when you have fear or when you have a reaction to something, I want you not to feel shame about that. Rather, that's normal. It's instinctual. Feelings are instinctual, and we don't have to feel shame about them. Feelings, however, can be controlled and balanced, and beliefs can be changed. Emotions are neurological reactions, and we talked about this, and they involve our physiological being. They change our blood pressure, our hormones, all of that. Whereas feelings are our decision. We have made a decision to call that reaction we had to something by name, and that name then becomes a feeling. So we don't want to confuse these. Again, most of us are taught in childhood that we can control our feelings. We can heal our feelings. This is a big one. If you Google heal your feelings, heal your emotions rather, heal your emotions. Good luck with that. We can, however, heal a feel. We can heal. Healing is with feeling. So, and what do we say? Healing, nothing to be healed, only God to be revealed, or nothing to be healed, only spirit to be revealed. So we have this nice review. Emotions are collected in the subconscious and they accumulate. We form a feeling, we form a conclusion, and when this happens, a feeling is born. And there are many types of emotions, which is wonderful when you look at this beautiful series by Brene Brown. She talks about quite a few emotions, and she talks about the varying levels of emotion. She also specifically dissects the difference between emotion and feeling. She doesn't go into belief because that's something we do in our teaching, but I believe that the foundation she lays for this, use the words because words have power, and be clear as to what it is you're actually looking at. Are you looking at an emotion? Are you looking at a feeling? Are you looking at a belief? We can create balance with our feelings. We certainly would like very much, I said this before, that I would love to have mastery over my emotions. I would love to just gracefully have an emotion and express it like the Buddha. But unfortunately, my emotions have taught me so much about the mastery of apology. And that's okay. I have forgiven myself. Because I'm learning that being human, having hormones, having a built-in system, and you can put me back, you can take off this slide if you would like. Carol, that would be wonderful. We can certainly look at our fear, phobia, and faith as a beautiful path to spiritual evolution. The idea that we are, I'm going to put me on speaker view here. The idea that we've gone through this, the idea of fear, which is what our topic is this week. It is the fear factor. And we can recognize and appreciate that fear is natural and healthy. And we know the difference now between the feelings and emotions. So we can identify feelings like feelings of failure, feelings of success, fear of death, fear of flying, being alone with people. These are feelings, and we can have fearful feelings, can't we? We can have feelings of fear, but the fear itself is an emotion. There is a metaphysical acronym that I've heard so many times. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Raise your hand if you've heard false evidence appearing real is an acronym for fear. Now think about that. This is where I want you to think about what the differences are between the emotion, the feelings. It's actually our response to fear that creates false evidence. Do you see how often we lump these things together? False evidence appearing real is the acronym for fear, when in actuality, it's our response to fear that creates the false evidence. So really, it's an acronym for feeling, isn't it? Am I confusing you, or does this make sense? We interchange these words, and I think they're confusing us when we are trying to change our lives, change our beliefs. And so when we have a feeling, not an emotion, but a feeling, when we have had the same thing recur or something very traumatizing, we can develop a phobia, which is a feeling that is a continuum. So this tiny brain structure called the amygdala tracks our experiences, especially our traumas, and it establishes in us a constant feeling, and that feeling can be called a phobia. So phobia from trauma can create worry and anxiety. These different terms are terms for feelings. So when you have anxiety, or when you have worry, or when you have trauma, or when you have phobia, you have surpassed the original emotion. And remember, this month we are talking about emotions. So I have decided that doing all my research in the last 2 weeks, that I am much more clear than I've ever been in my life, that I can recognize the differences, and therefore I can actually work with more clarity on my beliefs. Raise your hand if you're with me here. Has this review been beneficial to anyone? That we really can look at this, remembering that worry is something that we do. It is not instinctual. We don't have to do it. I was like, okay. Worry then buddies up with your imagination to exploit your fears. Worrying is focusing your thoughts on all the negative outcomes at the opportunity. It's an energy. Worry is junk food for your fearful feelings. So worry also makes you sick. So as we decide what do we want to do with all this information, we're going to end here today by saying, so thanks a lot for dissecting the anatomy of a belief, the anatomy of fear, the anatomy of emotions. Now what do I do? What the heck am I going to do with all this? Well, I have really good news to send you all out celebrating Mother's Day. The thing that we want to do is jump off the cliff of faith. How many times have I said fear and faith cannot occupy the same space? What we want to do, number one, acknowledge that we're human and that fear is an instinctual emotion. It is built in to keep us safe. It's okay. We're okay. And the feelings we decide to name about it, whether we name it worry, whether we name it anxiety, whether we name it phobia, whether we name it trauma, whatever it is named for us, we can meet that belief with faith. Liberate ourselves from our feelings that are holding us back. Then we can move swiftly and boldly towards our dreams. And remember, when we think about jumping off a cliff, we typically think of crashing due to gravity. However, when we think of jumping off the metaphorical cliff of faith, infinite possibilities abound. This is where healing happens. This is where we actually learn to, with spiritual practice, we learn to do that meet and greet of that which we've decided to have feelings about, and make a decision. Ask it. What do you have to teach me, dear feeling? And then ask yourself, is this feeling that I have turned into a belief supporting my highest good? Is this supporting my dreams? Is this supporting my relationships, the ones I want to have? This is the moment where we say, feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm going to say, feel the faith and do it. Are we ready? Do we have absolutely everything we need to understand the differences so that we can move into, remember, our beliefs can change with a split second. They can change with a change of mind. And remember one more thing, that we have a divine mind, an infinite mind that we can use for our good. Happy Mother's Day to all. All of us had a mother, so I can say that freely. Happy Mother's Day to all. And let us pray. And so we know that there's one power, and I call it Mother God. It is called by many names. It is called good. It is called power and love and wisdom and joy and abundance. It's called wholeness. It is called, and it always answers. And that one life that it is called, that one infinite life is my life. And it has made me in its essence, so that I am wholeness and love and abundant and intelligent and beauty and all that is good. I know that for each of us. I know that for anyone watching this video, I know this. I know that I came here with a soul imprinted with this identity, and that soul, that thing in me that is forever and ever, will always be, is here to know itself. It's here to know more of that God presence, that spirit, that infinite mind, that powerful, loving heart. It is here for one purpose, one reason only, and that is to love. And so I give thanks for my emotions. I give thanks for that finite body that has built, has a default system to keep me safe here on earth, that is called emotion. That there is an emotional network in me that works for my good. And it is only good. And I know from this moment on that I can look at what I name those experiences, what I name my reactions, can be given the name of God, can be given love and light and harmony and peace and joy and abundance. And I know that for each of us, I know that as we know this, we bring more love into the world. We bring more love to our world leaders, to our situations, our brothers and sisters all over the world, that there's enough food and love, and there is no war in this. We're done knowing this. This prayer is answered knowing this, because it is backed by conviction. It is backed by a belief, and that belief supports the highest good of each of us. This center, the Sacramento Center for Spiritual Living, and all people, all sentient beings, all animals. We celebrate those that are here and those that have made their transition. We celebrate especially this morning our Lana, our wild and crazy yellow lab, Lana Putnam. We know that we celebrate mothers who have come before us and who are gone and are here giving birth, all mothers. I am so grateful for this time together. It has blessed me tenfold. I release my word into the law that says yes, always, and makes it happen. And as we do this, we say together, we affirm together, and so it is. Ashe. Shalom. Amen. Thank you.
In beauty, may I walk all day long. May I walk through the seasons. May I walk. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. On this path, may I walk through my life. May I walk in old age. May I walk. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. May I walk, 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 may I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. In joy, may I walk in love, may I walk in gratitude, may I walk in peace, may I walk in peace, in stillness, may I walk in forgiveness, may I walk in loving kindness, may I walk, may I walk in peace, may I walk in peace, may I walk, 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 may I walk in peace, may I walk in peace, may I walk in peace, may I walk in peace now. May you walk, always walk in peace. May we walk in peace. May I walk with loving kindness, in love. May you walk in joy, in love.
Oh, good morning. And it's our offering time. And I just have to say, I am so blessed to be with this community and to receive all that I receive through this video and the Zoom and YouTube, and so blessed. And, and we're offering the 3 ways that you have an opportunity to give, to keep this service going. And one is through PayPal or Square. You can go through our website, www.sacsal.org, or you can mail a personal check to our address shown on the screen. And you may go through Amazon, Smile, and put us in your community that you'd like to donate. And we get a little kickback from that. Appreciate it. And again, thank you, YouTube audience, for your donations. We're so appreciative. Thank you for keeping us going, all of you. And please remain muted as we do say our abundance affirmation, because we're feeling abundantly happy and abiding by the law of circulation. And in heartfelt gratitude, I do affirm that I live in a creative and abundant universe that continuously flows in, through, and out as me, expressing as the ever expanding infinite good. And so it is. Thank you. And here's our latest news by Reverend Sharon Dunn.
Thank you, Margie. That was amazing. I am here to tell you that we meet in person on the odd Sundays. How odd is that? I'm trying to impress on the word odd. The first Sunday, the third Sunday, and the fifth Sundays when we have them is when we're actually in person. And we keep telling everyone because we want to make sure no one actually goes to the center in Citrus Heights when we're not there, which is on the 2nd and 4th when we're here on Zoom in our virtual sanctuary. So come and see us on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th. And we do have a outreach community event going on where we are donating into women's empowerment. So you can check this out on our website, and it'll give you ways to contribute to our community outreach, which is one of our one of the things we do as a community that we have consistently done, and it has been led brilliantly by our practitioner, Linda Connolly. So you can either contact her or go on our website to find out more about our event going on, which is to donate to women's empowerment. So thank you. Next Saturday, we are going to have an all-day workshop class on the science of mind. So if you're wondering why we call ourselves religious scientists, or why we call it the science of mind, we actually use quantum physics. And I know that can sound intimidating, but it's not, because if I can explain it, it is very simple. It can be explained. Now it can get very complicated for those masterminds like Einstein. But for me, I had to simplify it to understand it, and I can give that simplification to you. Very similar to dissecting the anatomy of a belief. I have dissected quantum physics to apply to how it's relevant to our teaching. So come and have fun. I promise it's fun. And we have the beautiful Reverend Debbie Putnam leading our community-wide visioning on June 8th. And we really want everyone to come. We're actually visioning for our education program. So please come and join us for 1 hour on Wednesday evening, 6:30 to 7:30. And again, this slide will be on our website. So please come and join us in the spiritual practice of visioning. Thank you. And I will turn it back to Debbie, Reverend Debbie.
Thank you, Reverend Sharon. This affirmation is our gift to you to share through the week. So if you want to take a picture of it, if you want to just imprint it on your memory, if you want to write it down, do that. This is something to turn to every day when you want to. Say with me on mute, I face my fears through courage, strength, and faith. And now for our benediction. This one power has shone through every word, has shown through our understanding and shines through now as we get our deepened understanding of working with thought and feelings and beliefs, of knowing that we can change our thinking and change our lives through these powerful tools that have been offered today. And we take this into the moments of our lives when something comes up, knowing it is okay to experience our reaction and allowing ourselves to then make space for evolving that into a new thought, a new way of being, a way that allows us to move forward in freedom. As Reverend Sharon said, healing is revealing. And so we walk forth in joy, we step forth into Mother's Day, and we allow so much good. In this gratitude, I give thanks for answered prayer. And I release this word into the law, the power that makes universes and hummingbirds and mothers. I release this into the law that says, yes, it is so, it is done, and so it is.
Beautiful, thanks.
And we want you to know that you can go on our website and submit a prayer request, and your ecclesiastical team, the ministers and practitioners, will pray on your prayer request for a week. And this is a powerful thing that we do. So take advantage, submit your online prayer requests on our website. And now for our closing song, followed by, please stay with us for fellowship. Thank you.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful. Yes, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Every day, I'm so grateful. So hear the movements if you don't know them. So grateful. It goes like this. Oh, gratitude before me. Gratitude behind me. To the left. Gratitude to the left of me. To the right. Gratitude to the right of me. Above. Gratitude above me. Gratitude below me. Within me. Gratitude within. All around me. Gratitude all around. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so to yourself, to the people you love. I'm so grateful. Release, let it go. I'm so grateful. All the way around. I'm so grateful to yourself. I'm so grateful to the people you love. I'm so grateful. You know what? Stand up. You gotta stand up. Do it again. Let's gratitude before me. Put some oomph into it now. Gratitude behind. Let's get that wiggle going. Gratitude to the left of me. Yeah. Gratitude to the right of me. Above me. Gratitude above me. Below me. Gratitude below me. Within me. Gratitude within. All around me. Gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. To yourself. I'm so grateful. To the people you love. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Yes, I'm so grateful. To yourself. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Just open your arms and say, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Thank you, God. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Yeah.
Oh, love that.